Resident Evil Requiem is about to blow us away and scare the hell out of us at the end of February. And if you can't wait or you just want to get into the mood, let me give you 10 random suggestions of recent awesome horror games. And by recent, I mean games from the past 3 years, so from 2023 and onwards. So if you are wondering why, for example, Resident Evil Village, The Quarry or the Callisto Protocol aren't mentioned here, that's why. And because I want to mention awesome horror games, so the Callisto Protocol is out for 2 reasons.
Well, that was clear.
Okay, now that that's cleared up, let's get started. And we kick off the list with Alan Wake 2, the 2023 sequel to Alan Wake, another brilliant horror game from 2010. In this second installment, you follow Alan Wake as well as a second character named Saga Anderson, whose story intertwine, and together they must ultimately escape the Dark Presence, the great evil that swallows ordinary people in darkness and turns them evil. So, you must first banish the darkness before you can wreak havoc with your arsenal of guns. You do this with anything that emits light. Flashlights, flare guns, flashbangs, you name it. The gameplay is exciting when it comes to the action, but it is also full of puzzles and logical thinking, and it uses psychological horror in a clever way. Besides the brilliant story and excellent gameplay, the game is also stunning, hence why I highly recommend it.
Control here. It's my mind place. He's powerful. Too powerful.
Number 2, My Friendly Neighborhood. At first glance, it might seem a bit of a strange suggestion, given its quirky style and the fact that the game is filled with quirky Sesame Street-like puppets. But make no mistake, this is a survival horror game in every way. Inventory management, defeated enemies you have to tape down to prevent them from reviving, puzzles, bolt cutters.
Oh shit, here we go again.
It's all there, as you'd find in many Resident Evil games, but in a somewhat unique style that occasionally keeps you on the edge of your seat. The adventure of Gordon, a repairman sent to fix a transmission tower that has suddenly started broadcasting again and ends up in a TV studio full of animated puppets, isn't particularly long. You can finish it in 5 to 6 hours, but despite that, it's definitely recommended by me. Just trust me on this one.
I'm just doing my job.
Sure.
And then number 3, the Silent Hill 2 remake. Bloober Team made its mark in 2024 with this brilliant remake of the 2001 horror classic. You play as James Sunderland searching for your wife Maria, who has been dead for a few years already, but because you received a letter from her, you've traveled to Silent Hill, a sleepy town where she's supposed to be, even though it's actually impossible.
Mary. Could you really be in this town?
Once there, it quickly becomes clear that something is afoot and you find yourself in an unparalleled horror adventure. Silent Hill and all its locations, including dense fog, are beautifully rendered in this remake, and what I personally really enjoyed were the puzzles. It gave you those typical escape room vibes where you find items room by room, each time taking you one step closer to the solution. Because the remake also slightly overhauled the gameplay with improved combat and a third-person perspective, as we see more and more in these kind of games these days, Silent Hill 2 plays better than ever, and therefore absolutely worth it.
Was that really necessary?
Number 4, Total Chaos. I haven't had much time to spend with it yet, but I can definitely recommend this horror game. It has a cool style, location and intriguing story, and thanks to the fantastic sound design and art direction, you're constantly on edge. Enemies are tough and you'll be dodging them more than actually fighting them. The controls are also a bit clunky, split second healing in particular isn't possible here, at least I haven't discovered it yet. It went a bit under the radar at the end of 2025, but be sure to check it out. It's also on Game Pass, so if you have that, then definitely check this out. And then on number 5, the Dead Space remake. Although I would have loved to see a Dead Space 4, I was still very happy with this remake of the fantastic first installment from 2008. Never before has the adventure of Isaac Clarke, an engineer who goes on a mission to repair an abandoned space station but is overrun by hostile aliens, been so beautifully and brutally portrayed. The gameplay where you had to dismember the necromorph, as these aliens are called, to kill them more effectively still holds up even 18 years later. A brilliant remake of another brilliant horror game, so brilliant in fact that I'm not really sure what I prefer. A remake of Dead Space 2, the best game in the series, or a new installment. I'd say, as long as we get anything, I'm fine. But for now, this remake offers absolutely fantastic entertainment until Resident Evil Requiem arrives. And number 6, Dead Island 2. When it comes to style and atmosphere, this is anything but a true horror game with the sunny Los Angeles environment. But hey, you slaughter thousands of zombies with all sorts of weapons, from clubs to machetes and various firearms. You could also give weapons some extra power, like fire or shocking damage, making your killing even more efficient.
Yeah, boy.
In terms of pure horror or story, it's not as great as many games on this list, but the gameplay is so much fun that I still wanted to recommend it. Because one thing is for sure, you might not get scared, but you will definitely have fun. Number 7, Alone in the Dark. A fantastic reboot slash remake of the original Alone in the Dark from 1992. Now entirely in third person and with a killer story that definitely draws influences from the original, but is told in a complete new way. With psychological horror full of mindfucks, strange characters and the necessary jump scares in the combat, this is a survival horror slash action shooter in every aspect. Partly due to the way you manage resources, but where Alone in the Dark truly shines for me are the puzzles. You play the game in a large mansion full of locked rooms, while the open rooms are filled with puzzles that constantly help you progress, and so you progress room by room towards the end. I always love that escape room feeling, as I described earlier in the Silent Hill 2 segment of this video. But Alone in the Dark does this by far the best of all the games I've seen. And then number 8, Chronos: The New Dawn. Another game from Bloober Team, which is truly on a roll regarding great horror game releases the past years. Chronos: The New Dawn is set in a post-apocalyptic Poland, and you are a traveler on a mission to find out what can be done about a disease that's causing all this. Gameplay-wise, it doesn't necessarily offer anything new for the genre, with inventory slots, scarce ammo and simple crafting and upgrade system, but the game does create something truly amazing in terms of atmosphere. This keeps you on the edge of your seat, but it is also due to the challenging difficulty. The enemies are tough and have the ability to absorb defeated enemies, making them even stronger. This makes it practically impossible to always run away. Checkpoints can also be quite far apart, meaning you can be set back quite a bit, sometimes frustratingly even, if you die. I highly recommend Chronos: The New Dawn, and it might have been overlooked last year, but it's definitely worth it. Number 9, Routine. A horror game set on an abandoned space station on the moon. We've seen it before, but Routine really creates a great sense of tension and atmosphere. The game does also do something quite unique with the interfaces and the HUD, requiring you to actually look at weapons and select items on it, for example, which works quite well in the somewhat slow gameplay. You're not constantly bombarded with enemies, but there's still a constant sense of tension when you open a door or enter a room. My advice, check it out. And finally, the Resident Evil 4 remake. Maybe a bit too easy, but with the upcoming release of Resident Evil Requiem, where you'll play as Leon again, it only makes sense to include this remake of arguably the best Resident Evil game ever. And the remake was perhaps even better, with new gameplay elements, slight adjustments to the story and characters, stunning graphics, and a fantastic mix of brutal action and survival horror. This is actually the warm-up for Requiem, especially within the franchise.
You think they would want that?
And there you have it, 10 recent horror game recommendations to make the wait for Resident Evil Requiem a little bit more bearable. Which games would you recommend? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe if you liked the video. It helps my channel immensely. And for live gameplay, check out my Twitch, twitch.tv/gameplayofj, and don't forget to follow me there as well. For more videos, check out the suggestions on the left or the channel on the right. And for now, thanks for watching, see you in the next video, bye!